Hey guys, it's Dr. Bernstein, and in this video I'm just going to sort of introduce you to some things you should think about when you're reading King's letter from Birmingham jail. Now, you already know that you're going to be writing a 500-word summary on this letter, and you have two options for your summary. One option is to provide a summary that offers a comprehensive definition of the purpose of nonviolent direct action, according to King, why it manifested itself in Birmingham, and why this action was not extreme, at least not in the sense that the clergyman thought it was extreme. And the other option involves describing how King challenges the clergyman's idea that the demonstrators' actions were unwise and untimely. So you already know going in, like, there are key issues you should be thinking about and focusing on. There's so many fascinating issues that King raises in here, but for the purposes of this essay, you can narrow down your attention, your concentration to focus on key issues. This might be an example of where you could use different colored ink to underline passages, or use different types of marks in the margins, like 1 or 2, using the numbers 1 or 2, so that way, before you read the letter, you might not know which option you want to choose, but you want to be marking passages that are related to those options. And if you use one color of ink to mark passages you could use for option 1, and a different color of ink that you could mark for passages that are related to option 2, then you will have an easier time when you come back and you start writing your summary and needing to paraphrase key passages, or use 1 or 2 direct quotes. You'll be able to go in and not have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out, why did I underline this, why did I mark that up. So the first thing I want to call your attention to when you're reading is to think about the tone that King takes. We talked about the tone and the sort of the attitudes that the clergymen conveyed in their statement, and I want you to think about how the sort of the demeanor that King adopts, and what makes it similar to or different from the clergymen's. The clergyman, as you probably recall, tried to create an us versus them dynamic. And think about, does King do that? Does he not do that? What passages indicate that he is or isn't using that same tactic? Another thing that you should be thinking about, from your one of your earlier videos, is thinking about the type of evidence that an author provides to support his or her argument, and thinking about who the audience is that the author is trying to address. And so when you're reading through here, think about why did King use passages from the Bible and relate his actions to the actions of individuals in the Bible? What is the effect of the examples that he's using, the words that he's using to address the clergyman? I want you to focus on this, because not necessarily because you're going to write about it in your summary, but because when you're reading, one great thing to do is, if you're reading something that's really powerful but written by a great writer, is to think about the strategies that they use to make their argument so compelling. Are they drawing on your emotions? Are they drawing on your intellect? Are they doing both? What kind of examples are they using? So that way, when you write, you can start thinking about, well, do I want to use a strategy that was similar to King's, or similar to another great writer, so that what you're reading has a use beyond that one essay that you might have to write on the text. Now, one of the options is to focus on how King challenges the idea that the clergyman's idea that their actions were unwise and untimely. So sometimes a writer is not going to say, our actions were not unwise and untimely because. They might take a more subtle approach. So let's look at one key passage on the first page of King's letter, and that's where he says, in any nonviolent campaign, there are 4 basic steps. Collection of the facts to determine whether injustices are alive, negotiation, self-purification, and direct action. We have gone through all of these steps in Birmingham. So what does that suggest about the wisdom of their actions? I mean, one way to show that your actions are wise is to show that there's a developed process, a well thought out process that takes place before an action occurs. So you might want to maybe use this as an example of how he shows their actions were wise. And what you would do is, here you might want to use a direct quote because the language is so powerful, or you could paraphrase it, put it in your own words, and then you would explain how King is showing that their actions were wise. And when you're writing your summary, you don't have to focus on every single way in which he shows their actions were wise and timely. You could actually choose what you think are the best, 3 or 4 ways in which he demonstrates these points. So that's one of the challenges of writing a summary, is figuring out what you should put in and what you should leave out. Because if you try to cover everything, it's not going to, you're in 500 words, you're not going to create this cohesive, easy to understand overview summary of King's letter. So you have to figure out, what do I want to zero in on? And as you're reading, you're not going to know that, but if you take notes and you underline, later on you'll have a clearer sense of like, well, that's really good, but it doesn't fit in this paper, and you can start making decisions from there. I also want to call your attention to the passage about their actions being extreme. So that's for me, that's page 4, and it's paragraph 22. And he has this whole paragraph about how the clergymen spoke of their activity in Birmingham as extreme. So what you might want to do, if you're choosing option number 1, you might want to really paraphrase what he's saying here. And what he does here is he shows that as he says, that I stand in the middle of 2 opposing forces. So what you would want to do is describe those 2 opposing forces and explain where King fits in relationship to these 2 opposing forces, how that indicates that his actions are not extreme, and in fact that they're beneficial. So a lot of times when you hear that word extreme or an extremist, it sounds dangerous and menacing, and he's sort of countering that idea in the first place, that he's an extremist. So if you take any words or phrases directly from King's source, King's letter, you have to put quotation marks around them, but you can definitely have like a few words in quotation marks and then have your paraphrase around it. So that's what you need to do if you're choosing option number 1, and you need to explain the positive forms of extremism that he goes on to discuss. So that's the end of my brief overview for reading King, but I hope it gave you some strategies for how to approach the reading, some issues to think about in general and in relationship to this specific assignment. So that's it for now. Bye.